What's up, everybody? How's it going? I am back. It's been a minute. It feels like it's always been a minute, but I am live again and here to talk to you guys a little bit about what's going on in the cryptoverse, specifically in the Pulse chain ecosystem. Lots of stuff's been happening. Richard Hart's been tweeting. Do we have single-sided staking for PulseX? Do we not have single-sided staking for PulseX? I don't know, but we'll find out together. But yeah, so I'm here to talk to you guys about PHUX. PHUX, the next addition to the PH universe. Fiat has been launched. Now PHUX has been launched. And then next we have Famous. So yeah, I wanted to come on and talk to you guys a bit. I'll just give you my preliminary thoughts. I've been putting together a slide deck just outlining all the mechanics of the system, as well as my thoughts, why I like it, how we can use it as a community, and why I think it's like a pretty good asset, a pretty good protocol for us to have on Pulse Chain. I'm very excited about it, and I was gonna wait until I finished all of my slides, but I'm actually going out of town pretty soon, so I wanted to get this out there just for you guys to have, and then maybe I'll do an update later, or maybe on a pure alpha with Access Alive. I'll show you guys some of the updated slides. It'll definitely be in the next LP course, but that might not be for a little bit. So I want to make sure this information gets out there as much as possible, and I just kind of want to share with you guys what I've been thinking about, because overall I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited about this. Let's say hi to the chat to everybody who's here. Blue Bison, what's up, buddy? Hope you're doing well. That's in Crypto, what's up, buddy? I hope you're doing good, man. It's good to see you. JP, Dave C, Franklin, what's Gucci, my man? And Sweet Aussie. It's good to see you guys in the chat. I'm sure some more people will start trickling in. It's a little bit late on a Thursday afternoon, so we might not get that many people, but you know, I like a nice small audience. You guys, if you got questions, drop them in the chat as I'm going. I'll be happy to kind of stop and answer them on the way. But yeah. Oh, hey, what's up, Adam? How you doing? That's exactly what Shakespeare said. That's exactly what Macbeth said. Oh man. All right. Well, that's all of an intro that I got. Let me think if there's anything else worth noting before I start. Oh yeah. Real quick Tetra update. So Tetra, they've officially migrated over to Pulse Chain, and let me tweet out for you guys so you can get the right contract address. They've officially migrated over to Pulse Chain, so the Ethereum side liquidity has been pulled, the LUSD liquidity, and they've done a snapshot for everybody who was holding Ethereum at that time when they pulled the liquidity, and now you have a copy of Tetra P. That's the token name, Tetra P. Let me grab the contract, not the contract, the official tweet from the Tetra protocol, and so you're going to want to go to Uniswap, PulseX version 2, and the only pool that exists currently is the Tetra P and Pulse Chain, Wrap Pulse token. So those are the only pool that you'll be able to trade with. So if you have like stable coins, you want to swap it into Pulse first, and then go from Pulse to Tetra. And if you're selling Tetra, you need to go from Tetra to Wrap Pulse. Okay. So with PHUX being released and 9-inch around the corner, does it give you concern? No, it doesn't actually. It makes me more excited about the future for PulseX. I think the PH team has done a really good job with the Flux decentralized exchange, the balancer fork, and it's, in my opinion, running like very smoothly, and is direct. It is should be putting PulseX on its heels, so it doesn't lose its blue chip deck status in the system. I don't think it will, because it's a Richard Hart thing, but I don't think it's bad for people to be kind of challenging PulseX to try to get it to be better. We want everything to be as good as possible, and competition helps that. So I have no problem with more dexes coming along, and I have no problem with good dexes coming along. We want that. That, in my opinion, diversity of liquidity is good. Liquidity across multiple dexes with multiple pools is a good thing. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. White dude with glasses. I have a question. If I buy the Richard token off the market, can you redeem it for the RH coins? Yes, and I'll show you. I'll show you how to do that too. And that's something I'll definitely talk about. Those incentivized / basically index fund pools that are kind of like themed around like RH, Alex, or Dipcatcher, the maxi tokens. Yeah, you got the right idea. The more decks, the better. Anthony just got paid. Hey, way to go, buddy. Thinking about topping up the Arch Maxi pool on Flux, then roll some into Prime and then VFux. Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. And actually, that's one of the slides I didn't get to add. And that's strategies for your liquidity providing in Flux. But I'll probably go through like a really quick walkthrough of like just kind of clicking the buttons to show you guys where everything is. And that's a decent strategy, in my opinion, where now, like, instead of having to like DCA into whichever, we have to choose whenever we want to make a DCA, instead of choosing like between like 5 different coins of which one that we want, we can just buy the index or the pool protocol that we are most interested in having, of the coins that we're most interested in having. And then when you do that, you stake those LP tokens, get the PHUX tokens, which then you can stake to get VE-FUX to get boosted liquidity and be able to vote on which pools get incentivized. So I think that's a great thing. It definitely makes DCAing easier, and it definitely makes diversification easier. And I think it makes onboarding a little easier. Instead of be like, oh, you should only buy this, you should only buy this. Be like, hey, just buy this RH token, and you have all of them basically, and you get to earn some fees on the side. So yeah. More pools on any cons to more pools? I think the only con is that some pools will just have less liquidity than others, so they'll be really hard to transact on. The thing that gets around this is a DEX aggregator. So if we get a matcha.xyz or a 1inch on Pulse Chain, that when you execute a trade, routes your tokens through all of the DEXs, then like there really is no downside to having more liquidity pools, because that's just more liquidity, which means better order execution, which gives more legitimacy to the ecosystem. I'll have to think about that. That's a good question. If there are any cons, I can't think of any off the top of my head. Maybe if they're just like blatant scams, blatant scam dexes, like that's obviously not good. But Portal X swap is an aggregator. Okay, so I couldn't remember if Portal X was an aggregator or not. I thought it was. So really, if you're doing swaps, especially if Portal X supports both PHUX, PulseX, and eventually 9inch and everything, which I'm sure it does, that's probably the primary place you want to be doing your swaps for sure. Fast Duel, pay me. Welcome, buddy. It's good to see you. Yep, passive income is the name of the game. Sprinkle and some Tetra, and we have a lot more for each time. Absolutely, just set it and forget it, and just let your passive income machine work for you. And Tetra's been doing really well. They basically like doubled the price by migrating over to Pulse Chain. I'm actually pretty surprised. I was expecting somewhat of a dip for people to scoop up, but like it's just doubled in price and it's holding there. Let me check the price really quickly because I haven't checked it in a minute. But yeah, congratulations to Stu for migrating Tetra over to Pulse Chain, and now we just have to watch for the actual protocol. That's what's next. Yeah, so about 5,861, and it was about 4,000 ish when it launched, so a little less than a double. So that's awesome. Like, hey, Tetra go up. I'm happy. I feel like Power City would have an aggregator. A Dex aggregator that we all use is gonna come. So I'm not worried about it. Hey, enjoy the music, Pulse Forward. Yeah. PHUX earns the best yield for holding orange products. Yep, absolutely. So it's like if you don't want to stake your, if you want like, so say you don't want to stake your Hedron or Icosa, for example, like the Icosa stakes probably are going to get you 90 days at least, more likely 180-day stakes, especially with the price being so low. And you're like, man, I don't really want to lock myself up for 6 months, but like, I don't want to miss out on the yield of the system, or like I don't want to miss out on I don't want to have the opportunity cost of not providing not staking because I'm not earning on my coins when I could be. And same for Hedron. Well, you can throw them into the Alex from Hedron pool. And when you do that, you're going to be earning PHUX in the background. It's going to probably be less. Well, actually, I don't know about that. It may not be less than like just staking it natively because the volume on the auction house has been fairly low in this downturn, more or less. So, yeah, it might even for a decent amount of time outperform native staking. So, yes, the bridge stable token does have risk, and that is one bridge risk. So if something happens to the bridge, you're fucked. No pun intended. But if the bridge goes down or has a critical error, like doesn't matter if you're in that pool or not, like everything's screwed. And then the only other thing is like say one of the coins, one of the stable coins dies, like USDT dies, it goes to zero, then like you're gonna own more of those tokens via impermanent loss because people are going to be trading out of them. But your impermanent loss in this case will be limited because you're splitting it across two other assets, and it's not like 50-50. And I'm going to talk about that in my slides too. We need that aggregator to balance the pools. Pun intended. Nice. I don't know what to do with my Fox. Stake it, buddy. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. I do. I like the Alex pool too. It's pretty sweet. It's got some nice. I think they've done a good job with the main pools that are incentivized with the balancing. All right. Okay. Oh, hey, Duke of Booze. What's up, buddy? No problem, John Alt. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well, Duke. Hope you're doing well, John. And hey, we got the celebrity clown in the house. I wonder if he has his clown nose with him still. Oh man, it's good to see you, Crispy. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Thanks for stopping in and listening. I appreciate it, man. All right, guys. What do you say we get started, huh? Got some slides, and I think we should get into them. Boom. Awesome. All right. So PHUX. It is a fork of Balancer V2, which is a decentralized exchange on Ethereum. And the main innovation that Balancer made was that you no longer had to provide liquidity in a 50-50 split, but you can now have multiple coins within a single liquidity pool, and you're able to customize the ratios at which you provide liquidity at. So Balancer V2 fork, you can now have more than 2 tokens in a pool. You can have customized ratios. There's a cool bootstrapping feature that it has. I'll talk about that later. It is not live on PHUX yet. You have reduced impermanent loss in unbalanced pool, but greater slippage, and I'll go into some detail with that. And then also there's a potential for some variety of pools on Balancer. There are public, private, and smart pools where you can like attach smart contracts to pools. But this isn't live on PHUX yet. I just kind of give you a little preview of what's going on, of what could be down the pipeline for the protocol. Currently, right now, there's an airdrop going on for the PHUX token, which is like the native token for that protocol. And I believe right now, if you sacrificed for, let me take a look. Let me just pull it up so I don't mince my words and I don't say something wrong. Okay. Fame early bird sacrificers, you get a airdrop. E-fiat holders, if you miss the first round, and basically if you're just a net holder, and then if you sacrifice for Pulse X, Power City, Liquid Loans, or Pulse Pot. So if you have any addresses that fall into this category, you have an airdrop of PHUX ready for you to claim. Okay. So first thing I would just go through is the tokenomics of PHUX. It's pretty cool. Probably the least interesting thing of the whole protocol, in my opinion, but it's still pretty solid. So let's talk about this first so you kind of understand what's going on with the token as we get into the nitty gritty of the liquidity pools. But so there's 10 billion total supply, 50% is being distributed over 6 years as a reward to people who are providing liquidity and incentivized pools. 25% are going to airdrops like the one I just showed you guys right now. And so if you qualify for those, it's going to be multiple airdrops over time. And I think Buck, what the team is really trying to do is just get as many protocols and sacrifice sets and people in, get the tokens in the hands of these people as much as possible to give them incentive to use the DEX and provide liquidity for it. So I think it's a pretty smart thing that they're doing like basically, you know, Christmas in July for the PHUX token. So you can stake the PHUX token in what's called the Prime PHUX pool to earn VPHUX, just one E. And what the Prime PHUX pool is, it's an 80-20 pool with 80% PHUX and 20% Pulse, 20% Pulse. So it's a disproportionate pool. It's a weighted pool towards the PHUX token. And if you stake that liquidity token, you get the governance token VEPHUX. And with that, you can vote on which pool earns PHUX within each epoch, which I believe is 7 days. And then with the VEPHUX, you can also boost your LP rewards by up to 2.5%. So one strategy that I've seen some people doing is compounding their PHUX as quickly as possible. So they're providing liquidity, claiming their airdrops, and they're staking it for a year. So it says you can lock for up to 1 year for extra VEPHUX. And so you can stake for up to 1 year, and it's kind of like a longer pays better bonus, where the longer you stake, the more tokens that you get. So yeah, that's the PHUX token in a nutshell. And then the one thing I didn't mention is that when you stake the tokens, the Prime PHUX, and you earn VEPHUX, you earn a percentage of the fees that are generated by the protocol. So I believe 60% goes to the liquidity providers, and 40% goes to the PHUX stakers. And you know what? I'm just going to double check that as well. Yep, 60% of the protocol fees, swap fees, goes to LP providers. 40% of the protocol fees goes to the VEPHUX holders. So when you stake your Prime PHUX liquidity tokens for VEPHUX, you are earning fees on top of the fees within the pool that you're providing liquidity in. Any incentivization that the Prime pool has. It's not much. It's like 6%, but you're earning 40% of the platform fees. That 6% boosted, and the fees within the pool that you're providing liquidity for. And you get to vote on what pools are being incentivized. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about some of the important pools. Like I've already said, there are a variety of ratios at which you can set the liquidity at. So instead of just 50-50, you can have a third, 25-25, and then like 10-10-10-10 if you want. But the max number of tokens you can have in any one pool is 8. Yeah. So let's see. I got a couple questions in here. Let's go ahead and answer those really quickly. So the initial amount airdropped, I believe, and especially in the first one, it was like the faster you claimed it, the more you got. So everybody who claimed, it reduced the amount that the next person got. I think for some of the sacrifice sets that I just talked about, it's a linear based on how much you sacrifice, or like how many coins you were holding. Yeah. All right. Let me think. What if you sacrifice? So if you didn't see a sacrifice set in the document that I just pulled up, then you have not qualified for an airdrop yet. Just keep your eye out. More is going to be coming. Richard Levin. Funny. All right, so let's talk about some of these important pools. And they're pretty much like the main 5 pools that matter the most for most people. And that's the Bridge Stablecoin pool, the Prime Flux pool, the RH Maxi pool, not to be confused with the RH Max pool, the Alex Hedron Maxi pool, and the Maximus Perps pool. So I'm just going to talk about each of these kind of individually. I've already talked about the Prime Fox pool a bit. It's 80% PHUX, 20% Pulse, and this is essentially this is the pool that you need to go into to earn the governance token VEPHUX. Yeah, so this is basically just making sure that their token has a decent amount of liquidity. And when you go on to Dex Screener, you're going to see it only has like $4,000 of liquidity, and that's because the Dex Screener is pulling from Pulse X. It's not pulling from PHUX. So don't be fooled by the low liquidity on Pulse X. This is the pool that you want to see how much liquidity there's for. Okay. Bridge stablecoin pool. I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about this, but essentially, instead of having like Pulse paired to DAI, USDC, and Tether as like the way to have stablecoins enter the pool, or having each of them paired with each other, all 3 of them share the same liquidity pool in the same proportions, 33%. So it's like if there's a million coins, then each of these has 333,333 in the pool. And so it makes it so that you can swap between tokens really easily. And it also kind of aggregates all the stablecoin liquidity into one place so that it's easier to back tokens. You can now back tokens by a diversity of stablecoins instead of just one stablecoin that you like the most. So that spreads your risk, that spreads across your risk a bit, and also it provides you with a deeper amount of liquidity because more people can most likely be providing liquidity in this pool, because you can have USDT, USDC, or DAI. If you have any of those 3, you can just deposit those into this pool, and then anybody who has this liquidity pool token can pair it with their token, and now they're backed by all 3 assets instead of just one. Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool. And I'll share why a little bit more in depth in a second. That's right. Okay, so this is was a big slide in the liquidity pool course that I had, and so what this is kind of outlining is how the incentivization structure of PulseX bonds liquidity across all the incentivized tokens so that they essentially share a pool of stable coins backing all of them. And through routing, it doesn't matter which one you enter or exit in. This your stable coins, or wrapped ETH or wrapped BTC, would be put into this pool backing everything else. I talked about it in the stream, I think my last stream that I did too, going over this liquidity bonding in a little bit more depth. But essentially, what PHUX does is it offers us the ability to, instead of having a different pools separated out that gets shared through routing, you can now actually make that relationship of stables to the broader ecosystem stronger by just pairing, say, Pulse with the Bridge stable pool token. And now everything's backed by all 3 of these liquidity pool tokens, but it's not divided against multiple pools. It's all in one pool, which increases order efficiency, which is great for people, which is great for, say, bigger players who need to be able to enter and exit with larger size. It also gives a little bit more legitimacy to the entire ecosystem if we have stable coin pools incentivized for people to provide liquidity on that have a decent APR. Yeah. Which 1% are you talking about, Franklin? And I'll answer that question. And then for bridge stable, what's the 1% you're talking about? Yeah, just let me know. And then, do you know how to put a name when creating a pool? I don't know about that, but I'll go through how to create a pool once I'm through my slides. Okay. Next up, RH Maxi Pool. So this is a mixture of all of the RH tokens. You have Pulse, PulseX, PHEX, EHEX, and Ink. You basically have you have all 5 infinity stones, as DCC would say. And the weightings are 40%, 25%, 20, 10, and 5. And I really like these. I really like this ratio of tokens, because if you were to present these ratios to me as like do you think this is a balanced portfolio? I would say yes. You know, Ink, while I like Ink, and I think I'll probably make some videos in the future on why I do like it. You know, it is higher on the risk curve for all of these assets. You know, eHex is now perceived as more risky, so it has a little lower percentage. PHEX a little bit higher, PulseX a little bit higher. You could switch these two. You could do 25% PHEX or 20% PulseX if you want. I think these two could be pretty interchangeable. And then the majority of your position in Pulse. So this is a really well-balanced pool to provide liquidity in, and now all of the tokens are sharing a singular pool, so that swapping between them is going to be easier, and holding is going to be easier. So now instead of holding all these tokens, you can just hold one token, and you kind of have a basket of all of them. Kind of the same thing for the Alex pool. You have both the P-hedron, E-hedron, P-icosa, E-icosa, and then also, I think this is really cool, you also have some hex in here, or at least pulse chain hex, P-hex. And so you're not just exposed to the Alex coins, so the icosahedron system, you also have a little bit of backing of hex as well. So if you were wondering, like, man, should I be getting into Hedron or Icosa or Hex? If you buy this pool, you're going to be buying all of them and holding all of them. The only difference is you can't stake. If you have the coins in here, you can't stake them natively. So that's a decision you're going to have to make. Now, I think that the concept that I want to say now also works for the Hedron and Icosa ecosystem, but I think it's perfectly exemplified in the Maxi pool. And that's because the Maximus perps are essentially all the same asset underlying, versus Hedron and Icosa are separate tokens, not theoretically, literally, they're literally different tokens. And even though their value is derived from the same thing, the Maxi perps are like exactly the same thing, except the stake length is different. But they're all just receipts for Hex. And so the problem that the Maximus team has had is, like, if you have 5 tokens, and let's just say hypothetically you need $500,000 of liquidity, of stablecoin liquidity in each of the liquidity pools to have sufficient order execution across the majority of user participants that would need to be entering or exiting. Well, if you have 5 tokens, you need $2.5 million worth of stable coins to back all of these tokens. And you would also need $2.5 million of these tokens to pair with those those stable coins in a 50-50 pool. And because of the nature of how these tokens were produced by people minting them from Hex, some of them, like Lucky, that didn't have a lot minted, there just isn't that many that exist. So even if you have all the stable coins, you may not have all the Lucky to be able to provide all that liquidity that you want. The thing that PHUX does is it allows you to put them all in a single liquidity pool, so that you can share the liquidity across all of the assets. So now, instead of each of these needing their own separate liquidity pool, you can put them all into the same pool, and then have them all backed by, say, the stablecoin pool. Or really what's going on here is the PHEX token is the thing that's bound to the liquidity. So if you were buying anything, the order would route it to buy Hex, and then Hex would be put into this pool, and then you get whatever tokens that you were trying to buy, whichever perpetual or maxi you were trying to buy. And then if you were going the other way, you would put in the receipt token, the liquid staking token. You'd get out PHEX, and then it would be routed to a stablecoin if you're doing it that way. So the PHEX is the route to the stablecoins, but also you could take this liquidity token itself and put it in against a stablecoin pool to give everything some backing as well. And then, yeah, Franklin agrees that due to the rarity of the asset, the yield has been very high for them. Yes, the Maxi pool has been outperforming all of the pools because there just aren't that many tokens. So this is a great pool to get. Like, if you have, say, a bunch of Deci, and you're like, yeah, I like this Deci, it's cool, and it's already Hex on the side, but like maybe I want a little bit more liquid form of passive income on top of that. We'll just throw it into this pool. Now, of course, you're going to be diluting yourself a bit because you're going to be getting all the other tokens. But now you can own a conglomeration of basically owning a staking ladder, turn your 10-year stake into a staking ladder, and then earn PHUX on the side. So, and I like that a lot for the Alex Hedron pool as well, because all of these tokens have had trouble getting liquidity with all of them spread out so thin. They basically had no stablecoin backing the past like month, any of them. It's all been the V3 pools have been completely filled just with Hedron or Icosa on Ethereum, and then the liquidity on PulseX hasn't been that bad. But I anticipate this pool is going where most of the liquidity is going to go, because if and what I will probably do is when some of my Hedron and Icosa stakes end, I'll trim some off and put it into this pool, just to spread my risk across these assets as well as earn a little bit more liquid income. Diversify your passive income essentially while also owning the assets that you like. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Now this is important because the ratios that I talked about just now that we saw in the last couple slides, those are fixed. So those are never going to change. You can't change them. Once a pool is created, you can't change the proportions after the fact because that would not work mathematically. So if you don't like this pool, any of the pools that I said, and you're like, man, I like the RH tokens, but like, bro, like, dude, PHUX is gonna die. Like we all know, like it's the talk of the town. PHUX has no future. Like EHEX is where it's at. So I'm just gonna cut this down to 5% just in case, and I'm gonna put the rest of that percentage into EHEX, the real winner here. And so you can do that by creating your own pool. And when you do that, now, of course, the liquidity won't be as high. And when you do that, you need to provide the proportions up front yourself. But you can create your own index fund, essentially, of whatever with whatever proportions that you want within that liquidity pool. Now, because there's not going to be as much liquidity, the chances of you earning fees is lower. You're probably going to need a pretty big order to route through a small liquidity pool. But maybe you're a large player, maybe you're a whale. Let's say Rackham. Rackham's like, man, these PulseX pulse chain bags are just too heavy, and I got too much Hedron, falling out of my ass every single day from all of my stakes. Let me create my own. Let me create my own pool with all of these assets. And because he has such a large size of everything, his pools will probably be routed through and he's going to earn fees. And then the other only downside of making your own pool is it probably won't be incentivized, especially if you're a smaller player and you have like $1,000 of liquidity in there. The chances of it being incentivized is essentially zero. So you won't be earning PHUX. You only earn PHUX and incentivized tokens. Oh, hey, RH Max. Good to see you, buddy. I hope you're doing well, man. Thanks for tuning in. I still got to watch your stream with Access, but everybody, after I'm done here, go check out the replay with RH Max and Access Alive. I'm sure I have no problem endorsing that stream, even though I haven't watched it yet. I'm sure it was great. Hey, thanks, man. Call me Doc in one more year, buddy. Frank has a question. If you add more of an asset into a pool in comparison to others, doesn't that help you against? Yes, I'm going to talk about that in a second. Don't you worry, Franklin. I got you, buddy. I got you. All right. So, and this is essentially what I've been getting at. These are pseudo index funds. Now, they're not actually index funds in the traditional sense, but you're holding a basket of assets that, as prices fluctuate, rebalance itself. Now, it's called balancer because like the pools self-balance themselves with like complicated math that honestly I don't really haven't looked into because it's not that important, honestly. As long as you just know that the pool self-balances itself to have the same proportions that it was set as in terms of USD, that's all you really need to understand. And like the way you can think of it is like, say Pulse chain starts to pump and nothing else does. Well, then it's going to, and you have like $10,000 of Pulse, $5,000 of Pulse X, and $5,000 of PHEX. So that's a 50, 25, 25 split. We'll say your pulse chain doubles to 20,000 and 5,000 and 5,000. So that's now a 66, 17, 17 split, 16.5, 16.5 split. And so, but the pool was set as 50, 25, 25. So it's going to sell some of the pulse into the other assets to rebalance it out. And that's where the impermanent loss comes from, where it's like, I don't think it actually sells it, but like just think about it. It just sells one asset into the other to make it that's essentially all you need to know to like understand what's going on under the hood. But that's essentially where the permanent loss comes from in these pools, where it's like the asset that goes up in value, becomes disproportionately weighted against the other ones, and then so it sells it off so that the U.S. dollar proportions equal to what the pool is set as afterwards, and then that difference through the selling is essentially your impermanent loss. But yeah, these are pseudo index funds where you get to hold a basket of the assets that self balance itself over time. And if everything that you have moves up together or down together, your impermanent loss is pretty low. Like the maxi pool, like honestly, like they're going to move together. The only times of fluctuation really are going to be when a certain pool is up and people are trying to arbitrage the yield from the pool versus the market price of the token. And then I think the Alex pool will probably move together pretty well, and those proportions are pretty weighted more heavily towards Hedron and Hex weight pairing versus Icosa. Icosa had some pretty small weighting, so yeah. But yeah, I like this a lot because now going forward into for DCAing, say I just want to DCA and I'm like, do I want Pulse, do I want Pulse X, do I want Hex, do I want Hedron? If I don't have a specific goal that I'm trying to get and I just need to make a decision, I'm just going to go into this pool first. Or I'm just going to go into either the Alex pool if I wanted to buy Hedron, or the RH Maxi pool if I wanted to buy Pulse X, or Hex. And if I wanted to buy Hex, maybe I'll split it between these two pools, basically. And then if at any, so this is only if you want the baseline returns of the pooled assets proportional to their ratios in the pool. If you believe a certain asset is going to outperform the other ones, like you have a strong feeling that PHEX is going to outperform PHedron, you're going to want to buy that token individually yourself. So for the percentage, for the amount that you want to hold liquid in a single asset now should be proportional to your degree of confidence that that token will outperform the other tokens in the pooled liquidity pools. So say if you're like, I'm 50% sure that PHEX is going to outperform, let's do this one, that PHEX is going to outperform all of these tokens. Well, then 50% of the bag that I'm looking to DCA into should be going to buy PHEX directly. And then the other 50% should be going into the RH Maxi pool so that you are getting the baseline returns of the whole system so that you don't really have to, the only speculation you have to do is that all these assets are going to do well rather than one or the other. And you get to earn some passive income too. Yeah, I hope that made sense. Okay. Yeah, so that's, oh, I forgot that I had the slide to be able to talk about everything I just talked about. But yeah, so pseudo index funds, I think that's a great innovation for Pulse Chain to have. And a little teaser, I believe something that Alex has been working on is also a way to create index funds of pools. And so that would be really interesting. We have the mechanics of liquidity providing in variably weighted pools, creating a pseudo index fund. And then we're going to have Alex potentially creating another protocol that creates an index fund through a different mechanism. And so depending on what those mechanisms are, I'm really interested in exploring what the implications of pairing those two different indexes are to each other. We won't know until it comes out / if it comes out. And then if any Icosa utility gets added on, do we want to bump up these percentages? I don't know. But that's something that I'm kind of excited for in my head that's coming down the line. Okay, so let's talk about the stablecoin swaps for a bit. So I talked a little bit about the bridge stablecoin pool, but now I want to talk about like why this is an important pool for us to have in Pulse Chain and like what value it's adding to the system. But before I do, I think I see a couple other questions. Franklin. Yeah. Look at the bit. Okay, when I pull up the protocol, I'll look at that one. How much LP in dollars do you think is reasonable to start if creating a pool, assuming the assets are pretty important? So you can do it with any amount. There's no minimum, but on the website, on the app, it says that like if you're creating a pool, they recommend at least $20,000 of liquidity. And that sounds pretty reasonable. Like have $20,000 worth of value in that pool, so the probability of it being routed through is at least not negligible. But if you just want to hold your tokens in there and just earn whatever routing fees happen to go through your pool, I think that's perfectly valid too. There is no like set rule. More is better, obviously, but if you're like, you know what, I want to set my pool in here with $1,000, like go for it. I think I saw some that had like 400 or 500 bucks in it, maybe like 20 bucks. Like I don't know. So yeah, I would say 20,000 is a good number based on what they're saying. Is there any benefit to adding each of the individual tokens in proportion to the pool, or just swapping straight to the token that represents the pool overall? Yeah, so let me think. So some of the pool tokens don't in of themselves have a lot of liquidity in them. So it's going to be hard to swap between them. But things like the Bridge stablecoin pool and the RH Maxi pool, like they have a little bit of liquidity. And I'll go through that in an example a little bit later. But this is something I've been thinking about. Is it better to just buy it, or is it better to provide liquidity? Like buy up one or a couple assets and then throw it in the pools to provide liquidity. I lean towards the liquidity route because it's like you're buying the tokens off the market itself, but like you're also just kind of buying them through the pools anyways. So it's like if you buy the LP token, you're increasing the value of the LP token, and if that value gets if that price of the LP token is disrupted, so that an arbitrage opportunity event, somebody will like unpair it and then sell the tokens to like close the arbitrage. But I lean towards just like, say if I want to get into the RH Maxi pool, like I'll just buy a bunch of pulse. Like say I have $1,000, I'll buy $1,000 worth of pulse, and then I'll just throw it in the pool, and then it auto balances it out for you, so you don't have to worry. So for most people, I'd say just buy one asset and then throw it in. And then if you already have the assets, I would just throw it in as you have it. Lean towards adding liquidity versus buying the tokens. Let's see. 1 second. Okay. So, okay, stablecoin swap. So why do we need, well, not need, but like why is this a beneficial pool to have for the whole ecosystem? Sorry, 1 second. And the reason why is because the stable coin / value backing liquidity pool tokens are incredibly fragmented of PulseX, and I'll explain that I'll outline exactly how that is. But if you look just at this like actual example that I pulled, if I were to swap $1 million worth of DAI into USDC, I would be eating 15% slippage. Just 15% of my value just gone if for some reason I needed to swap between the two tokens. But if you did it on PHUX, you're eating like less than 1%, basically, maybe 1%, and that's really great. Basically, you can transfer your value across stable coins without losing any value. Versus in PulseX, you're kind of stuck into one, and you probably need to jump like it does in this routing. It's routing through Pulse and then going into USDC, and so you pretty much are stuck in whatever stable coin that you have. If you need to switch, you need to go back to Ethereum, swap it out, and then come back in. And if for some reason you were looking to buy, but what this does is it limits how much people can buy with a single stable coin, because the liquidity is dependent specifically on the pool that the stable coin you're using is paired to Pulse. So your ability to enter with stable coins directly depends on the amount of liquidity that's in the, say, USDC Pulse pool, because there are really not that many other tokens that have significant liquidity against what specific stable coin that you might have, right? So it's like you're just going to push the price up against yourself buying too much if that's the case. And like in this specific instance, there's only 85% of the value that exists within the pool if you're going from DAI to USDC. That's routed through the Pulse chain DAI pool. So that's important. It's important to have fluidity and to have the ability to transport value from token to token, especially ones that are pegged to the same thing, $1. It's important to have that as seamless and as fluid and as efficient as possible, so that moving money around isn't a labor and the user experience is better and the order execution is better. It makes people want to stay around, and it makes people more likely to participate. So what's the difference? What are the different things that are happening here with the Bridge stablecoin pool, and like what's going on with PulseX? The fundamental difference is that if you want to swap from stable to stable, well, all you have to do is go through this pool where all three of them are weighted equally. But in PulseX, you need to swap the stablecoin first into Pulse Chain and then go from Pulse Chain to the stablecoin that you want. So your ability to get proper order execution is directly dependent on the amount of liquidity there is in the Pulse stablecoin LP pair. So there is no DAI USDC pair to go through. There just isn't. Or if there is, it's so small, it's not going to route through it with any significance. And so you're dependent not only on how much liquidity is in the DAI Pulse Chain pool, but also how much liquidity is in the DAI USDC pool versus the bridge stablecoin. You only have to worry about how much liquidity is all in this pool. So you need double the amount of liquidity basically to get the same amount of order execution as within here, roughly. And so the thing about PulseX is that not all stablecoins are incentivized equally. So we saw a tweet from Richard that says, looks like the DAI APR is up. And then you see that it's like at 200%, while the USDC is 100, ETH is 86, USDT is 115, right? So like obviously Richard is directing people to provide liquidity in the DAI pool and not the other pools. And that makes the situation of stable to stable swaps even more drastic, because now if you want to go from another stable to DAI, that could work because there's a decent amount of DAI in the DAI Pulse Chain pool. But this is a quick so the first decline. Okay, that was my mistake. I thought I read on the thing that it was linear. So there's an update. But as I was saying, all of the stable coins are linked together via routing through Pulse Chain, and there is no stable to stable pool. And so say you wanted to go from USDC to USDT, and so you're not touching the DAI pool at all, which is the main one that's incentivized, you're going to experience high slippage because there is no pool pairing the two together, and the amount of liquidity in the USDC Pulse and Pulse USDT pool is pretty low. So yeah, that's an inefficiency. That's not the most ideal liquidity setup, liquidity context that we want on Pulse Chain. And so yeah, this is exactly what I'm saying. Lots of PLSS stable, so a lot of individual tokens paired to Pulse, but no stable to stable. So you're forced to route through Pulse, and therefore the amount of order efficiency is dependent on the amount of liquidity in two of the pools together. So you can have all of the liquidity in the Pulse DAI pool, but if there's a little bit in the USDC pool, it's going to be inefficient pretty much both ways. Okay. So this is essentially, this kind of route is what normally would happen if you're trying to buy Pulse, for instance. Oh, and this is what I'm getting at with this slide. One scenario why you would want a significant stable to stable swap is, like I was saying before, if you're trying to enter with size in one of these, like you're completely dependent on the liquidity in this pool, and you just don't have access to these other pools until you get into Pulse Chain, which means that if you have $1 million, but like this pool can only support $500,000, like in order to enter the ecosystem, you're going to have to first experience slippage and pushing up the price, which may deter pushing up the price significantly against yourself within one order, which means people might be disincentivized to come into the ecosystem. And that's what this route is showing. If you were to buy Pulse, you go to stablecoin and then into Pulse. And if you're doing a stable to stable swap, Pulse to the other stable. With the stablecoin pool, and if you're using a DEX aggregator, what's going to happen is it's going to split your order up and go through the bridge stablecoin pool, and then put the USDC tokens into that pool, grabbing DAI or USDT, and then swapping those for Pulse. And so even if PHUX, that DEX, doesn't have a lot of DAI Pulse or Tether Pulse liquidity, we have all of that in PulseX. So as long as we have an aggregator to go through the PHUX tokens to do the stable to stable swaps, and then from there going through PulseX and getting the buy and burn and everything, we will have the proper liquidity to be able to service large orders incredibly efficiently. And that's like I think the main benefit of the stablecoin pool. It's that the the combination of the stablecoin, the bridge stablecoin pool, and a DEX aggregator, where we get to allow people to onboard with as much money as pretty much they want, or a lot more money than if we didn't have these things, because we're going to have more efficient routing and deeper liquidity pools where it matters. And in this case, where it matters is stable to stable pooling, stable to stable pairings. One interesting thing about PulseX is that it doesn't incentivize stable to stable liquidity providing. Other dexes, like on Spooky Swap and I think even Pancake Swap, they incentivize the stable to stable pairing at least a bit. And even though it has the lowest APRs on the system, people do it because it's stable to stable liquidity, which means you're just earning APR and you're keeping your dollar value the same. So it's like low risk outside of like bridge risk or stablecoin risk. And now we actually have that with PHUX. We have incredibly great APRs for just stablecoin pools. I think it's even better than Anchor, whatever the Luna thing was, where it was like 20% APY on stables. I think we were like in the 40s on PHUX. So that's pretty cool. Okay, let's talk about reduced and permanent loss. I know we've gotten some questions on that. Yeah, Franklin, when limit orders, right? I hear you, buddy. Reduced and permanent loss. And this is the graph, I think, that exemplifies that really well. So you have reduced and permanent loss in unbalanced pools. And what that means is that like the more unbalanced the pool is, the less impermanent loss you're going to experience in the token that's more that has the higher rate. And so yeah, higher percentage of the pool equals more like holding the token. And this is the easiest way to think about it without understanding like all the mechanisms that are happening on why you have less impermanent loss. Just think of it this way. If you have a liquidity pool of 50-50 Pulse and PulseX, and you have a liquidity pool of 95% Pulse, not 5% PulseX, which pool is more like just holding one asset? So the 95-5 pool, because 95% of the pool is one asset and 5% is the other. So it's almost like you're holding just that one asset with a little bit of exposure to the other asset via impermanent loss. Now, the downside to that is that the slippage is higher when trading for the lower percent token. So if let's say we're 95.5 Pulse chain 95, 5% PHEX. Well, if you're going from PHEX to Pulse, that's not a problem because there's a lot of Pulse in the pool. But if you're going from Pulse to PHEX, that's more of a problem because there's not as much hex in the pool. You're going to experience more slippage that way. Versus the 50-50 pool, the slippage is equal in both directions. Now, this graph, what it's showing is essentially as the weighting becomes more even, the impermanent loss increases as a function of the relative price change. So think of this as like the prices are becoming more divergent as you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the 95.5 pool essentially isn't even experiencing 5% impermanent loss, while the 50-50 pool, by the time you get to 5, is already experienced like 80, 75, 80% impermanent loss. Or sorry, 25-20% impermanent loss in these pools. And so if you're like, I want to provide some liquidity, but I don't want as much impermanent loss, well, you're going to want to weight the token more. You want to weight the pool more towards the token that you think is going to outperform over time. Well, and what that does is essentially say, let's go with the same example, 95% Pulse, 5% Hex. Well, anybody who's buying, and you have a lot of liquidity, anybody who's buying Pulse with Hex will probably route through your pool because you have a lot of liquidity in that direction. And that's good because you're weighted in the token that you want to go up. And if people are buying Pulse with Hex, then that Pulse token is going up. Yeah. Okay. Bootstrapping LP. So this is a function that's not yet out on PHUX, but it is on Balancer V2, and I like it a lot because it provides a system to allow for people and to allow for new protocols to distribute their tokens in a fair and efficient way. So normally when you're trying to bootstrap liquidity, and I think actually Tetra is a great example of this because it's just gone through this exact thing, where they needed to provide liquidity in a 50-50 split on Uniswap V2. And that's what they did. They provided about $250 of liquidity with Tetra and LUSD. That's a lot of money. $250,000 to provide liquidity with and to give to the ecosystem. And to say Tetra was a token that was highly distributed via an airdrop. Well, what you've done is provided a bunch of exit liquidity for people to just dump your token into. And that's not ideal. Like, you don't want to like do all this work for people, give the tokens out only to have them essentially just rug you by when you provide the service of LP. Like, that's not something you want as a founder. What the bootstrapping LP does is allows you to put up more tokens for less money, less backing value, while also allowing the price to fund a natural floor and not allowing people to front run it. So, like, say the price was set too low in the beginning and somebody just bought up a bunch of tokens up on the bat. Well, that's like, quote unquote, it's not really unfair in my opinion, but that's like puts a bad taste in people's mouth when somebody just kind of, because they got there first, gets a whole bunch more than you. This bootstrapping LP thing kind of prevents that. And so how it works is that you can put up LP for as little as 88 to 2. And then as time goes on, the pool auto adjusts the price to the desired ratio. And that could be like 50-50. It can be whatever ratio you want. But like 50-50 or 80-20 is 50-50 is pretty popular, and so is 80-20. This prevents front running and gives better price as time goes on. And then buy should create a stable price as the intrinsic price decays, and then less funds are needed to bootstrap LP and distribute a coin. So what's happening here is the pool is automatically adjusting the price. So if you put up $100,000, 100,000 coins in the 98 thing, and then in 2% you put $100,000 in there. So each token is $1 at the beginning, but it's just not backed by as many. Well, that's not exactly how it would go, but just say at the 98 to it's valued at $1, whatever those ratios would be. And it's going to start up here at this dollar range. And then as time goes on, say it goes to 95.5, 90.10, it's going to adjust the price to reflect that. So like the coins that are being distributed, or the coin that's being sold, the new coin in the 98 is becoming more, the price is going down and down and down so that it reflects the new ratios that are being calculated. So it's like the price is really, really, really high at the beginning because there are, it's really, really high in the beginning. And then as it goes down and there's more value, more the price of the percentage of the pool of the stable coin or the other coin like Ether Pulse, as that percentage is going up over time, the price of the other thing is going down. And that's what this curve right here shows. So over time, if nothing were to happen, the price would just go down via an algorithm or via a formula, basically. But as price starts going down, people in the market say, oh, hey, that's a pretty good price, and they'll buy. Oh, hey, that's a pretty good price, they'll buy. So they'll put in like a Pulse and buy that token. And when you buy, price goes up. So like the price will go up, and then because of the decaying function of the bootstrapping liquidity, the price will continue to go down. So it's like, oh, hey, that's a good price. And then it pops up, price goes down. And it'll keep doing that until it finds a price that is fair, that people will be like, yeah, at this price, I'll buy it. They'll push the price up and then wait for it to go down until it reaches its desired endpoint. And then this line, this dotted line here, it's like a more drastic version. So it's like, boom, someone makes a big buy, and then it starts to decay, and boom, it makes a big buy. And this is why it's like more fair, more quote unquote fair, because it starts at a high price that no one wants. And then as time goes on, it'll give you better and better prices until somebody decides, yes, that's what I want. But the people who are buying first are actually taking a worse price than for somebody if they waited and bought later, versus getting a low price first and then having a high price later. It goes high to low, not low to high. Yeah. So this isn't out yet on PHUX as far as I'm aware, but yeah. That is that. Okay, guys, that's it. Those are my slides. They're not done. I'd say they're about 60% of the way done. There's still a lot of I want to talk about, but I really wanted to get this out to you. It's been a second since I streamed, and I feel bad when I don't stream. I like hanging out with you guys, especially solo. So I appreciate all 65 of you that are here, and let's get to some questions for those of you that have it. Let's see. I doze off listening to the stream, and guess what? I'm glad I could hang out with you in your dreams, Crypto King. I think it's just one, man, in Bali. I think it's just one, but don't quote me on that. Oh yeah, I was gonna do a walkthrough of things and show you that. So I'll do that in a second. Bets has a question. Will you go over for peeps how to check? Yeah, let's just do that now. Let me pull up. Okay. So actually, I can confirm that the amount of PHUX you get goes down because I'm looking at a wallet that I have, and it's gone down since I started the stream. So I'll have to claim that when I'm done here. Let's see, where am I going with this? Okay, so if you want to go and claim your PHUX, I would go to Fatty and then go to Mint. And when you go to my portfolios, go to Mint, and then it'll ask if you want to do it. And then actually, you know what? Let me claim it. I need to put some pulse into this wallet, but this would be great. I'll claim my PHUX for you guys right now. I just need to get some pulse into that wallet. 1 second. Let's see. Are you staking an app ICOSA or providing LP? All of my ICOSA and Hedron is actually staked right now. But once it's over, I'll probably take 10 to 20% of the whole thing and throw it, of all of the tokens, all my Hedron and all my ICOSA, and throw it into the pools just to kind of diversify where my tokens are and to earn a little bit of PHUX on the side. I really think I might just go for 1 year stakes to try to get the boosted liquidity as fast, the 2.5x boosted liquidity as fast as possible. I'm really leaning towards that. We'll have to see. But yeah, okay, let's claim this. So I got about 1,000 pulse in here. So let's PHUX mint. 2 penny transaction. I like it. Oh, hey, what's up, Benny Blanco? How you doing, buddy? Welcome to the party, man. Glad to have you. Let's see. Hey, there we go. So now I have my tokens in my wallet, and you know what? Why don't I go ahead and do all the staking for you guys? So we'll go to PHUX, and this is the protocol. You got light and dark mode. Pretty cool. And so if you want to stake this, you're going to want to put all of these tokens in the prime PHUX pool. So I'm going to add liquidity, and we're going to go max. Actually, do I want to stake it in this wallet? Not real. Hey, look at that. $50 airdrop. That's pretty sweet. Okay, now that I think about it, I don't think this is the wallet that I want to do it in because I'll lock it up for a year. So I might do it in another wallet. But I'll go ahead and stake the tokens because you can provide the you can do the LP out of any wallet that you want. So we're gonna do all of it, all the PHUX tokens, and then it's gonna swap it into the PulseX that you want to do, into the Pulse chain that you want. So we'll do preview, and it'll show you, I'm going to have a price impact of 0.2%. So that's the amount of slippage that I'm incurring by using this airdrop to provide liquidity. So I'll approve it. Yes, you can claim whenever. Well, no, the first airdrop is over after a week, so you should claim it pretty quickly as soon as you're able to. But yeah, so I'm going to approve the transaction, and then after I approve it, I'll go through and provide the liquidity, and then I'll go through the motions of how to stake it. But I won't stake it for a long time. Maybe I'll just do like a 1 day one, and then later on I'll unstake it and put it into the wallet that I want. So we'll add liquidity just so I can show you guys how it works. Hey, I appreciate you too, man. Thank you for coming to Hexagon Contractor. Let's see. Yes, that's right. What's up, Alan? Good to see you, buddy. Okay, so we've added liquidity. And so now that we've added liquidity, we have the prime PHUX token. And so we're going to go to VE PHUX. There usually is a button here, I think. No. So I'm just going to go to the VE PHUX token, and we're going to say get it. And so now you see I have 19,739 prime PHUX LP tokens. So I can max that out. And then let's see, lock until 6/27/2024. So that's a long time. Let's do 2 weeks. And then let's just say, so you have to do, it looks like at least a 2-week stake. So yeah, I'll do a 2-week stake here just so you guys can see it, and then I'll unstake it later. So you have to stake it for 2 epochs at least. 2 weeks. Can I not do 2 weeks? 1 month? Let's do 17. let's go back. 13 doesn't. I'm not sure why it's not letting me do that. But so we'll do a 3-week stake. Now you'll notice I have 710 PHUX, but if I did it for a year, I'd get 19,000. So you get 1-to-1 if you stake it for a year, versus if you stake it for just say 2 weeks. I guess for some reason I need to do it for 3 weeks. Then I'd only get 710. Actually, no, I probably just wait to do it. But if you preview it, you approve the token, you'll lock it up, and then over here it says how to lock and earn, lock in the resulting LP. The VEPHUX holders get boosted liquidity yields up to 2.5%, and then you also get to vote. So let me show you where to vote as well. So if you go to, so if you go here, you'll notice that there's a vote button. So if we click one of them, you can vote on which pool. Now, I'm not allowed to vote because I didn't stake my token, so I didn't stake my VEPHUX, so I can't do that. If you go to your portfolio, it'll kind of show you. So if I were to lock it up, lock, and then we get back to this pool. So that's how you would do that. But there we go. But yeah, let's see. So yeah, if you go down here in the VEPHUX, you can vote on the pools, and it'll tell you. Oh yeah, so the next epoch is in 5 days and 23 hours. So 6 days basically, and that's when like all of these new weights will be updated. So like the VEPHUX used to be, it is currently 35%. But if the votes continue the way that they are, it's going to go down to 33% of the PHUX distribution. And so you'll see like RH Maxi, it's getting 7%. The Hedron pools are getting 3%. The Jeep pool, 1%. And then we have some other like native comp, Poly wants a bootstrap, risk parity. We have the Fiat Maxi, Bridge stablecoin is doing pretty good. So, that's how you stake the that's how you claim the airdrop, stake the airdrop, and then how to stake the LP token to be able to get the protocol fees and the ability to vote. So if you go to portfolio, if you're in the stake pool, it'll show up here and it'll show your APR. Now let's go to the pools really quickly and look at, if you look, there's these little stars, and what that is showing is your these are the incentivized pools. So you'll see only 1.62% of the total APR is coming from fees. The vast majority of the bridge stablecoin fees, which is in between 30 and 72%, is coming from the PHUX incentivization. And so the 70% is basically with the boosted yield, and the 28% is without the boosted yield. So as soon as you get more VEPHUX, you're going to get more bang for your buck for whatever whatever pool you're in. Now, 30% as a baseline APR for a stablecoin pool is like unheard of. It's crazy. Zero risk, 30%. It's going to go down over time. And like how much we have? $6 million. Like that's pretty crazy. $6 million of liquidity and $300,000 in 24-hour volume for a stablecoin pool. Like we have $6 million here back in the entire ecosystem, basically. One cool thing that I wanted to show is the PLS comp pool. So you can actually take the bridge stablecoin token and pair it with something else. That's what Polywan Bootstrap is doing, and that's what this native comp is doing as well. This is a pretty cool pool. ETH, Pulse, Bitcoin, and Bridge Stable. So it's like these three are all blue chips in my opinion, and I want to hold a little bit of all of them. Oh, hey, what's up, Corey? Good to see you, man. I hope you're doing well. I know you said on one of your streams you wanted to hop in when I do the stream. So do you still want to hop in? We can talk for a couple minutes. Just let me know. Great quote, man. Let's see. Somebody want to say big brain pool. I don't know what that is. Let's see. See if I can find it. I don't see it. I don't see a big brain pool. That'd be fun to make. Maybe I'll try to make that. I don't know what I put into it. I like everything that's been here. Oh yeah. So there's a question about like how much you should provide. I think that was by Franklin. And if you look, like there's like 200, 300, $300 in here. Rat Pulse and Pulse Eno. That's funny. Hexenes index. So this is what Dylan thinks is a proper weighting. Hex Pulse Moonshot. All Hex, all Pulse, baby. All gas, no brakes. Let's go. Let's see. Meme main. Yep. So like whatever you want. Whatever you want. Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, man. Let me drop you a link, buddy. I know it's late, so like we don't have to stay on too long, but I'm happy to have you on, man. There you go. Okay, link has been set. Let's see. Michael on the native comp because they aren't doing me any favors sitting in my wallet. Yeah, exactly. Like you just have some of these coins sitting in your wallet, and this is what I was saying on RH Max's stream with Dylan. It's like if you just have coins that are being unproductive and you're just holding them because you just want exposure to the system, like it's better just to put them in these pools, right? You get exposure to multiple pools, you have less worry about impermanent loss, and you get a little bit of passive income on the side. Now it's in the PHUX token, so that passive income has volatility, but like that's fine. You just sell it if you really want. Like it's not that big of a deal. Let's see. What else? Let me think if there's anything else that I want to show before Corey gets in here, and then we'll talk for about 10, 15 minutes and head out. And drop your questions, guys. This is the time to ask. Hanging out with you guys as I'm done with my week. Okay, so yeah, you can like put the actual tokens, like the bridge stable coin here, and let's just. I'm just curious, how much is one bridge stable coin? One, of course, right? I would be very surprised if it wasn't one. But yeah, each bridge stable coin pool is one token, and you can exchange it for one. 2, 3. Now, oh, this is important. So I put in, let's go to portfolio. Let's go to Prime PHUX. Now, what if I wanted to withdraw? You know, I added in one token and got this. It sold a little bit into Pulse and 80% PHUX. What if I withdrew it? Well, if I did, then I would be getting 1% of it in Pulse. Right. So when you pull your liquidity, you get it in all of the assets. When you add liquidity, you can just do one. All right. We got the man, Crypto Millionaires with Corey Geary. What's up, buddy?
What's up, brother? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great, man. Thanks for hopping on at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, man. I'm out here in Puerto Rico, so I'm in this Airbnb, so my setting's not quite up to par, but it's been a blast.
Please, dude. I'm streaming in my room right now, man. It's cool. I'm glad I have this background.
Yeah, man.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm super excited about PHUX. I'm using it. I've gotten some pretty juicy airdrops. I had e-fiat because when I got airdropped that, I sacrificed for fiat. Got dropped e-fiat, and I just staked it and forgot about it. Like literally, I just went and staked it. Like, all right, whatever. If it does something, it does something. If not, whatever. And then that was the biggest part of the airdrop was the e-fiat, and so like I moved all my liquidity, man, from Pulse X over to PHUX.
Yeah.
So it's.
I don't blame you, man. The APRs are good. The APRs in Pulse X have kind of died down, and now we got that the shiny object over in PHUX where there's just a little bit more opportunity because there's less people participating in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I want to get as much PHUX as possible because I do believe it could do some cool things in the bull run. So.
Yeah, and this is a good question actually that Mecca has. How long would you stake your Prime PHUX for?
I did the max.
I'm thinking at first I was like, well, maybe just do like a month or something, but I think there is some value into doing it, maxing it out at the beginning because we're still pretty early in like the bull market overall. We're still pretty early to when there's like a reasonable time to exit. If you're like timing the market based on time, like we have at least a year to go. Before then, so these coins should come unlocked by that time, and so why not try to speed run the 2.5x liquidity for all of your pools as fast as possible? Basically, I think that makes sense. If you're okay with that year lockup, which I don't think a year's not that crazy.
No, we're not going to be. We'll be past just past the Bitcoin halving in a year, and I don't plan on selling any crypto in the short term. It's just not my. yeah, it's not part of my plan. So I'm like, I'll lock it for a year, get the 2.5x multiplier. And
Yep.
yeah, man, I mean, try to get as much yield as possible in this bear market. That's key.
Yep, I think so too. Just stacking as many coins as you can before it's time to start moving in the other direction. But yeah, how much of the presentation did you catch, man?
The last like 20 minutes. I'm
That's
pretty
all
well.
right.
I'll
Yeah.
rewatch it. I'm pretty well versed in it now. I've done a lot of due diligence and digging in it, and it's really, man. And the game theory behind it, tokenomics are amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the tokenomics is actually the not underwhelming, but like the least interesting thing to me. Like the fact that I can get exposure to a bunch of assets at once
Yeah.
pretty quickly and kind of decrease the activation energy to like DCA because you only have to make one decision. Do I want to get exposure or not? Versus do I want exposure? Yes. Okay. What token do I want? And now you have 8 different things you want to do. So it's like the choice algorithm goes from do I want exposure? Yes. Do I want RH or Alex stuff, basically? And then you just kind of pick which one you want from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same with you. Even with our new onboards, it's
So much easier for that.
It's so easy. Like if they're like, oh yeah, you want some Pulse, you want some Pulse X, you want some Hex, or you just go to the Flux protocol and buy Richard, or go into the Richard protocol and put all your money in there. I mean, it's just and make passive income while you're holding those.
That's like the cherry. Assets. It's like the cherry on top. Like for them, to really close the deal. If you're trying to onboard somebody, it's like, hey, you can just buy all of them with one token. But wait, there's more. You get to earn a little bit of money just by holding, basically. And for onboards, they don't really care about impermanent loss, especially when you're just holding all the tokens. It's pretty irrelevant at that point. And it's so spread out across all the assets. Like they're going to be happy just seeing the number go up. Not that like, oh, I could have had 10% more.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
But yeah, man, I'm excited. I think it's a good addition to the ecosystem. It gives us a little bit more maturity and a little bit more legitimacy to Pulse Chain as a whole versus if we just had Pulse X.
The more we have these more sophisticated protocols like Flux, Power City will be one of those. Obviously, we start waiting on liquid loans, and you got Tetra coming soon. And the more we get that, the more grown up Pulse Chain becomes. The more it becomes usable. The more it becomes attractive. Right? People are going to want to come and play in this ecosystem because we have all these little toys that we can play with.
Yep. Oh, and this is something I didn't say in my presentation, but I meant to. I think a balancer fork on Pulse Chain is much more powerful than on Ethereum. Because on Ethereum, every coin that exists on there is disjointed. And what I mean by that is they're not all under the same umbrella. They're not under the same brand. And what Balancer really is in a lot of ways, it's a more efficient way of binding liquidity because you're putting the coins in the same pool, right? And so in an ecosystem like Pulse Chain, where we have multiple founders that are kind of all building a multi-coin system deriving their value from Hex, this is the perfect protocol to kind of show that cohesiveness that people are building with versus other pools where you're pairing ETH and then maybe like Uniswap, like you're pairing multiple protocols that are under different umbrellas, under different brands together. Now we're pairing things under the same brand together. It just seems like a great thing for us to have that we really didn't have, that protocol can shine more with us than other places, I think.
I agree. And a lot of the pools I love the Alex pool. I love the Fiat pool. And so what I did is I took my liquidity and I spread it across multiple pools because your 2.5x multiplier is only as good as what your position in the PHUX pool is. And so by spreading it out, I have 2.5 on almost all my pools.
Yep. So when because I haven't gone through this exactly to get the 2.5x quite yet, but it's like you choose, like if you have 1,000 VE PHUX, you say like put all of them onto this pool to get the boosted deal, right? Like you have to choose which pool you get boosted deal for.
For the voting, yes, but that's for the whole ecosystem. If you want the 2.5x multiplier, it's only relevant to the pool that you have in VFlux. So if you own 0.1% of the full pool in VFlux, then up to 0.1, you'll get a 2.5x multiplier in the RH Maxi. up to up to 0.1, you will get the 2.5 in Alex, and so forth. And you have to break them. So I broke my pools out evenly. So it gives the small guy an opportunity to make the bigger multipliers versus a whale coming in there and diluting the pool.
Gotcha. Okay. So if you have 1% of the Prime PHUX pool, the Prime PHUX pool, then any pool you're in up to 1%, you get 2.5x.
You got it.
Gotcha.
That's what I mean
I like
by
that.
the game theory of that. It's like,
yeah, that's pretty good. I didn't see that on the documents, at least when I did a reading of it. But
I had to talk to Dylan, and I didn't understand it either, man.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I figured a lot of times it's like I figure out when I do it. But that's pretty cool. Okay, so it's like if you really want a lot of your liquidity, if you want to provide heavy liquidity and you want to get it all boosted, you need to go pretty heavy into that Prime PHUX pool.
You do. Yep.
Yeah.
You do, or just spread your liquidity out over multiple pools, right? Yeah. It's the other solution. That's what I did. And man, the stable coin pool, I love that pool. I mean, you're sitting on these stables to DCA, right? Like that's what I do. I DCA every single month, and like I want to keep it on the blockchain though. That way I can buy any dips. What a best place to store it at, and then inside Flux and make like 60%. I mean,
right. What? Well, that's exactly what a pool like that does, right? So you don't want to provide it in the stable pulse chain pools on PulseX. Right, like because those are stable coins. Those are meant for buying dips. Those are not meant to be put up with Pulse Chain. Like you're not. Those coins is part of your portfolio. It's not worth taking that impermanent loss risk. Like that's not what those coins are for. And so, but with the stable coin pool, let me take a step back. So because the stable to Pulse pools aren't what you're looking for that percentage of your portfolio, those coins are sitting in your wallet. They're not helping the ecosystem. It's just your money in your wallet. But now you can have your money while also backing the entire ecosystem too. And when you're talking about large players who are like you've mentioned this before, where like real estate guys, like they'll go in, like they'll make significant allocations to an investment that they think is going to do well. And I think we're probably going to get more and more larger players coming into the ecosystem as time goes on. But they're also like, you didn't get a lot of money by being an idiot. They're not just going to go, just fat fingered buy immediately. They're probably going to drip in slowly over time. Well, now they can drip in slowly over time while also providing a service to the system. And they're going to do it because it's in their incentive. It's in their best interest to, because they're earning income at the same time.
Absolutely. It's made me think twice about DCAing.
Yeah, it's
like,
right.
I'm going to wait for a bigger dip because I'm going to be not earning passive income on my stables.
That's funny. I wonder if it that's one way of thinking of it, where it's like it makes you think twice about DCAing because you're getting this income and you're like, this is pretty cool. And then I wonder if it'll have like a rubber band effect with like FOMO, where it's like, well, you weren't DCAing as much because you have this incentive to hold your tokens, and then all of a sudden you see the market going the other way, and so now it gets people to buy at higher prices.
It could do that.
I missed the boat. It's going up. I got to get in now. that it'd be interesting if it ended up in that dynamic as like the opposite way.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't think about that. That's a good point. Yeah. Hey, you got anything else about the protocol you want to talk about, man? You want to?
No, man. I just been having fun with it. We're going to have Buck and Dylan on our show tomorrow afternoon. So we'll be taking a bunch of Q&A from the audience there. I always like talking to Buck anyways, because I've always learned something about markets that I didn't know about like before I had the conversation. The guy's so smart.
Yeah.
Man, it's an awesome protocol. And I mean, I still like PulseX, don't get me wrong. And I'm just going to provide liquidity over in Flux for now. And like you said earlier, the APYs won't be like that forever. And so we might as well grab them while they're there and capitalize. And then the new shiny toy will come out. We got 9-inch launching here any day now. And I'm sure that will have some really juicy APYs in it. Who knows?
Have some throbbing APYs, I'm sure.
Right. So
did you ask for that one? you sack for?
I didn't sack for it, man. I stopped doing
Same.
any new sacks. I might buy it if it's on a nice dip. It just, you know, all my money that I've been DCAing with has been allocated to buy more pulse.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So you're not DCing into the RH Maxi pool. You're just pulse chain.
Well, all my liquidity that I had in the in Pulse X, that's spread out all through the Flux protocol now.
Gotcha.
And so I allocate my like 5% of my bag for liquidity providing. It's like between, I think that'll be 8%. And so like I don't want to like go overexpose myself in the LP pools because then it makes me a little uncomfortable. Like the 8%, actually 5% is kind of sweet spot for me. And so I just moved my liquidity and then I'm spread out. Now the majority of my liquidity over there is in the RH Max pool. That is the majority of my liquidity.
Gotcha. But when you DCA, you just buy pulse straight up. You don't buy the Max. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just I like it. Yeah. Just get the baseline returns of the whole system.
I can always swap into something else later.
Yep. Exactly. That's the right idea. Generally, what I recommend if people don't know what to. Well, now I'll do the RH Maxi pool if they're like, I don't know which one to buy. Be like, well, you just buy them all. Oh, you okay, buddy? Yeah. But yeah, if they're like, I just give me something simple, just buy pulse, and then if as you learn and you like something else more and you want to make an allocation, just swap your pulse into that token. Yeah, you okay there, buddy?
I just had spicy dinner.
Just still getting to you. Yep. Oh man. All right. Well, Corey, I appreciate you coming on, man. Anything you want to plug? Your channel. Let me get the link to that while you're up here.
Yeah. Just our channel.
If you can get it out. Yeah. Him and Dane, they have a great channel, great up and coming Pulse Chain Hex channel, streaming every day. I think now at 11 a.m. EST, correct? Or no, yeah, 11 a.m. EST. I've been on there. They're about to have a stream with PHUX, with PH guys, Buck and Dylan. So go check them out. And then for me, let me pull up my little website. So I'm going to be dropping a website here soon. I'm going to be writing a newsletter, running my consults, and as well as doing any courses I'm going to be running through this site. So I'm going to drop this in the next 2 weeks. So go ahead and drop your email in here if you want to get updates on it as soon as it goes live. I am planning to do a course individually, like a fundamentals course, kind of just talking about my perspective on cryptocurrency investing and the different ways I assess a project. So if that's something you're interested in, throw your email in and you'll get notified on that immediately.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'll be signing up too. I'm excited for your.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks, man. I'm working on it.
You and Access always kick out good content, and the last liquidity providing course you guys did was amazing. So I'm excited about it.
Did you like the add-ons, the PulseX add-on stuff that we did from the first one? Yeah,
I did. Now you got to add in the Flux add-on.
Flux, yeah. Well, all the slides I'm doing was not primarily, but like in my mind was like, man, this is going to be a huge addition. It's going to probably have to be a 3-day course. We're already like maxing out the 2-day. Like it was a little long that second day. Like 4 hours is a long time to sit and pay attention. You know,
it's getting deep, man. But you guys are the perfect the giga brains that understand this stuff to deliver the content. So we appreciate it, man.
Hey, I appreciate you and everybody in the chat. I appreciate all your guys' support, watching me this past hour and a half, liking my stuff, subscribing. It means a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Corey, I appreciate you coming on, taking time out of your night to hang out with me and talking about talking about crypto.
Yeah.
We definitely have to get you and Date on for a more official hour together because I had a lot of fun. Well, I had a lot of fun on my time on your channel, so I think we can put together a good show.
We'll have you back on too, man. We love talking crypto, and then we throw a dash of real estate in there. But that's our main. Where we came from was real estate, but now we love crypto so much. That's all we talk about.
Real estate? What's that? I don't need a house. I have my crypto. Yeah. All right, everybody. That's it for us. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. I will see you guys on the next one.
See you guys.